Hi, welcome to another episode of Just Lovin' Designs. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about, on the podcast side, I talk about things that I'm knitting and working on and maybe acquisitions that come in and just general life stuff. And then on the designer side, I'll talk about, if I have any patterns coming out, but I also have playlists for just tutorials that I use for my patterns. So you can find those in the playlist that will be on this channel. Just to talk straight up, anything that I talk about, I will try to have links down below for individual shops or Ravelry project pages and patterns that I talk about. I try to link everything that I talk about. I might forget some stuff. So if you have questions, just leave a comment down below. It is podcast number 10. I have been doing this since September, I think, and I think I'm getting the hang of it. I'm enjoying myself, so that's why I keep coming back every 2 weeks. Anyways, today is Thursday, January 25th at just after 9 o'clock in the morning. I got a sick kid at home today, so hopefully it won't get too noisy between dogs and kids and everything, but we'll see how it goes. All right, to start off with, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. Also, I don't know if I said, my name is Shannon, Just Livin' Designs. All my stuff, like my Ravelry pattern pages, I have also Love Crafts and Payhip for pattern pages for my pattern shops are all linked down below, either through Linktree or on the page itself. I have them all individually linked. I usually go to my Ravelry right down below because that's where most people shop, but I know not everybody can. That's why I offer them in other places. My Instagram is down below. It's Just Livin' Designs. My Goodreads is down below, and there is an affiliate link with a coupon code for a local candle maker here if you want to check her out. I just actually, she makes, I didn't bring any up, but she makes hand-poured candles in homemade like cement vessels that she makes as well. And so you can reuse your vessels when you're done. And I just finished off one and cleaned it out, so I'm ready to get a refill for that one. So that's exciting. All right, now what I'm wearing. I am wearing an oldie but a goodie. This is the Like a Cloud by Hohi Locatelli. I knit this in 2018. So it is a lovely textured cardigan. It's meant for, I think she designed it originally with shabui, like two different lace weights of shabui. I knit mine with Brooklyn Tweed Veil, which they no longer make. It was their lace weight yarn, and the color I used was Vernal. Again, you can't get it anymore unless you get it on these stashes. And then I held it double with this mohair, which is from the Farmer's Daughter's Fiber in olive oil. So it's a nice, the Brooklyn Tweed Veil was like a very, very pale green to gray, like super pale. And then this was a bit darker of a green than what's showing up, but since they were held together, it just makes a nice thing. And since the one was hand dyed and one was not, the mohair was hand dyed, you get flashes of colors in it. It's very lovely. This is knit, like I said, it's two lace weights held together, which it would equal about a fingering weight. So I know some people have knitted in fingering weight. It's a great throw on cardigan. It was a little bit of a pain to knit just because it was all over texture. So it took a long time and took some fortitude to get through it, but I love it now that I've, once I finished it, I loved it. But yeah, it's a nice long, I'll stand up, nice long cardigan. And yeah, just great throw on cardigan. I am wearing one of my knitting t-shirts today. All right. And then I'll talk about my hat and finished objects because that's part of my FOs. Now this episode is going to be heavy on finished objects actually, because I finished 4 things since the last time I saw you guys 2 weeks ago. Some of these things were on the needles for a while, and some were just newer cast on. Well, only one was a newer cast on, which is this hat. But everything else was on the needles last time, and I talked about 2 of them in the last episode. So I'll go in order that I finished them. So the first finished object is my daughter's Sunday sweater. It's all done. I think on the last episode I was just starting the ribbing, and then I talked about how I change my needle size and knit 1 round before I actually start ribbing. And then I did like the Italian sewn bind off, which is like a type of tubular bind off on the bottom edges of all of these, so it just kind of looks like it rolls right under. So I did that at the bottom of the hem and at the bottom of the cuffs. So since last time, I did the bottom ribbing and 2 sleeves. And then my daughter has worn it, I think once. And this was made out of the fiber company Aran Moore, their Aran weight, like slightly tweedy yarn. I talked about it last time. It's discontinued. You can't get it anymore. And then Biche and Bouche, their Le Petit silk mohair held with it. And it just makes a nice, lovely, you know, it's heavy, but it has some drape and move. After it blocked, it really did kind of open up and lay nice. This is the size small, which is meant to, well, it measures out to 40.5 inches, but it's meant to fit a 33.5 to 35.5 inch bust because it's meant to have you know, a bit of positive ease. My daughter loves it. It's big and cozy. The alterations that I made, I think I talked that I was going to do this. This design is made to have increases on the sleeves to make a really big, like poofy sleeve, and then sudden decreases. I opted just to knit them straight so they weren't quite as poofy, and then did rapid decreases to get down to the right number for the size that I was knitting. And how I figured that out is I learned this from Ann Budd years ago, the magic formula where you can figure out either increases or decreases to be done evenly around. There's a special little formula. You could probably even look it up online, magic formula knitting, something like that. But it's really kind of fun and cool. And that's how I figured out my numbers to make the decreases even. But yeah, she loves it. Got a little tag that I get these tags at my, I'm not the best at sewing in tags, so don't judge me, but get these tags at my LYS, the yarn bar. I can't remember the company, but if I'll try to remember to look it up and put it down below, but you can get them at the yarn bar. This one says, "Your mama made it." My daughter picked that tag out. I have some that are sweary, and I have other fun ones, but yeah. So she picked out that one because I made it. All right, so that was a big project. That one was started last fall sometime, I think, maybe late fall. But big project off the needles. Another one that was really big that came off the needles. I told you guys I wasn't going to talk about this until I was either on the border or had finished it, and I have finished it. So this is the Jelly Roll blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. Came out a couple years back. I think I started this one in 2021. I think, yeah, when she had like a knit along in the summertime, I started it with her knit along and never, you know, it was just a quick knit along. She wasn't expecting anybody to get it done. But yeah, mine ended up measuring. You can see all of my changes in the project page that I'll link, but I cast on more stitches than she calls for, and I ended up, I don't remember how many, I never counted my rows for how long I made it, but the finished measurements of the whole blanket is 40 inches wide by 60 inches long, which is great for a couch size blanket. So there's, well, I can't even see the whole width. There, it's the width. Here's half the length. And then the other change I made, I tried to do her I-cord edging, and I just was not enjoying it. It was a little fiddly. It was blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I did the one that I kind of know, where you like knit the last stitch plus the stitch you picked up through the back loop and then slip. I did that, but I saw on a tutorial that I kind of found that you could, if you knit it, do the I-cord on the wrong side. So I had the wrong side facing me while I was knitting my I-cord. It looks better on the right side than the wrong side. And it did. I mean, it doesn't look, you can't notice it quite as much now, but I still think it looks better on the wrong side than the right side. But yeah, it does look a little bit better and just a little nicer and neater. So yeah, that took me, I mean, I worked on that I-cord exclusively for 2 days. And again, I am stay-at-home mom slash knitwear designer slash teacher, all that stuff. So I have a lot of time during the day to knit, but it took me a long time to get around this whole thing, and my hands got kind of tired. But I was like, I don't know if you guys are like this when you get really close to the end of a project. I just focus on it, hyper focus on it, and want to get it done. And so that's what happened with this. And now I have a nice blanket. It ended up taking 680 grams total of fingering weight, mostly scraps. I can tell you almost where all these projects came from. Some minis. A while back I had row 1 minis for like 4 or 5 months, and I used some of those in here. I used some even like whole 20 gram minis where I might not have used the whole 20 grams because that makes a really long strip in this type of blanket. I will probably end up making another one of these. I know I'm going to make a DK weight version with my DK weight superwash scraps because I don't really have a lot to do with those. I don't like to use superwash as much in color work where I do with my other, like I keep all my scraps, and my other scraps I'll put into something else. But yeah, this one is great. I used US size 2 needles for the whole blanket. Except for the cast on and bind off, I use 3s. And then for the I-cord, I use 3s. And it made a nice cushy, squishy fabric, and it's actually quite warm. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I'm glad I have it. All right. So that was a big one that had been on the needles for a very long time. Next one I'll show are my daughter's socks. I talked about this in the last episode because I don't think I had a whole sock done yet, but now I do. I have both socks done. So this is my daughter's, this was my January's mystery sock that I talked about in my bonus episode, how I made myself a yarn calendar to surprise myself with my stash yarn to knit up. So this was the bag that I randomly chose for January. My daughter helped pick out, and so she picked out a lot that she liked. So these ones will be hers. These were a more recent stash. It came into stash with the Advent sock set Advent from Legacy Fiber Arts. This one was called String Lights Repair Shop. And so it was a 50 gram main skein and a 20 gram sparkly mini. I don't know if you can catch that, maybe a little bit, that sparkle. So I did my pattern of shadow wrap heels 2 ways. I knit it from the toe up. That way I could measure and get everything I wanted. Both these skein, well, the main color was a heavy skein, so I didn't use 50 grams. I used about, how many? Was it 45, 43, something like that, grams. But I think I still had like 10 grams left. Whatever I had about 10 grams left afterwards because it was a heavy skein. And I used about like almost 18 grams for the contrast. This was knit size 3 of, like I said, my pattern, shadow wrap heels 2 ways. I added a 3x1 rib because again, if you've been here before, my family all likes the rib socks. And then I just did a 1x1 on the cuff. I do like Legacy Fiber Arts sock yarns. They do a really, they always have fun speckle skeins, and I really enjoy their themes usually and stuff like that. So, and their Christmas yarns aren't Christmassy, so it's like this doesn't scream Christmas to anybody, but my daughter liked it. All right, and then the final one is I finished this hat. This is another one of my patterns. This is the Eve cap. It was named after Jacques Cousteau. His middle name is Yves, spelled Y-V-E-S. I had to look it up how to pronounce it in the, when it's a French name. It sounds like Yves, or looks like Yves to us Americans, but it's pronounced Eve. Anyways, this is the 4th hat I've made out of this. The original was kind of this reddish color, which kind of is an homage to the Jacques Cousteau picture of him in a red cap. And then I knit 2 different blue ones because I knit another blue one for the sample of the pattern, and then my daughter wanted another a blue one. And then I really wanted more of a lighter colored one, and I cast this on because, when was it, the 17th, 18th, something like that? The Farmer's Daughter Fiber decided they wanted to do a quick hat make-along, ranging from that date to the end of the month. And so I started it, I don't know if I started it on that date. I think I did. Whatever the start date was, I started it. And this was just yarn I had in stash. It is Farmer's Daughter Fibers Pishkin, which is their, not, it's very cushy. It's like a 2-ply maybe. But it's very cushy. It's spun down in Montana, or down in Wyoming, in Buffalo, Wyoming, not too far away from here. And this is like it's a heavy DK. Makes a very lovely, warm fabric, squishy as all get out. So this hat is started at the top down, cast on your stitches, and then you do increases on either side to get that kind of like pointy shape. And it's all 1x1 rib. And then you knit it down as far as you want. I think I knit this one 12.5 inches, something like that. Because I wanted a nice deep fold. And then you finish it again with an Italian sewn bind off. That's easier than a tubular bind off, but looks the same. And yeah, I really enjoy it. This is, like I said, this is my 4th time knitting this pattern, and it is very nice and warm, especially when, it's not as cold out now as last time I talked to you guys. We were in a deep freeze last time. Now we've been getting it up into the 40s and 50s again. Right now it's still frosty outside right now because it's early enough in the morning, but later on today, I probably won't be wearing this hat anymore because it will be too warm for it. But yeah, right now I'm enjoying it. All right. So yeah, that is a make along. You can still get in on it if you want to the end of the month with Farmer's Daughter Fiber. They have it, I think, running through their Ravelry group. But yes, just use any of their yarn and make a hat. Okay, let's see. So that's, like I said, that was a lot of finished objects. I usually don't have nearly that many, especially big items, but some of those things were on the needles for a while, and they were close to being done. I think the last time I even showed this blanket, I think I was on the 9th strip and I made 10 overall. I was at the very end of the 9th strip even, so I just had to do one more strip and then do the border. And that, even though I didn't have, I think I showed this maybe 2 or 3 podcasts ago, like the last time I showed you guys. So it was a long time ago that I actually showed it. But again, it took 2.5 years total to make, so. All right, let's see. Gotta try to figure out where I want to put everything, so I can talk about some current whips. So since I got a lot of stuff that I was pretty good about just working on those items throughout the last 2 weeks, I didn't work on too much other stuff since then, because that's how you finish things off. I've come to realize if you want to actually finish something, work on it. It's taken me a long time to realize that one, apparently. But I am working on a pair of DK weight socks because I think I mentioned this last time I started teaching my Shadow Wrap Heel DK version for new sock knitters at my LYS. And so the last episode I talked about that I was going to be teaching because it started that Saturday afterwards, and so far we've had 2 lessons, so we have gotten, and I teach it, this is again is you can knit it either cuff down or toe up, just like my regular Shadow Wrap heel sock. This one for class I generally have them go top down because I think more sock patterns generally are knit that way, and that way they can learn the Kitchener stitch as well. But yeah, so this is the first sock that I knit. I don't even know. The last time I taught this class at the yarn bar, I knit 1 sock, and then I just held off on the yarn, and I will, now I'll get the second sock made and have a pair. These are kind of small. They're probably going to be for my niece, just because they're kind of small. I just apparently made them short. I don't know why. But this one I made with fingering weight yarn held double, which I say you can do in the pattern. It makes a much denser sock. And when you're doing the shadow wrap, it has much more strands to deal with, but maybe not for the beginner. None of my students are really doing that. They're all using a DK weight yarn, but here I used a mini held with the main color. So it's kind of marley for the heel, toe, and cuff, and then the main color held double. And the yarns that I'm using, let's see if I can find them. The purple yarn, this one here is Farmer Daughter Fiber For the Love of Dolly sock set. It was July's. This was a couple years back. She did a Dolly Parton club with sock yarn, and most of the other yarns I think I'm gonna make my daughter a sweater out of it, because Dolly Parton, they're more not my color zone, but my daughter likes them. Anyways, and then the mini was from, I have a lot of these minis. It was a Dragon Horde yarn Halloween advent from a few years ago, from the Dark Crystal. And so that was just one of the minis I thought went well with it. So this is what the purple yarn looks like, and this is what the mini looks like. And I just have to get this second sock here done to where I need to start the toe before Saturday, which is no problem. So I will get that done so I can teach everybody how to knit the toe in class. And then that class will be over and done with, and I'll have 5 new sock knitters in the world, which is always fun. This bag is from Bags by Awesome Granny. It is a great sock size, and I love, of course, it has socks on it. She has really reasonably priced bags on Etsy. Okay. And then my next one is actually a new cast on. Oh, I didn't bring up the pattern. This is Bibliophile 3, I believe, by Alicia Plummer. It is, she has, the first Bibliophile is it fingering weight or DK? One of them is fingering and one is DK. There's Bibliophile, the original, and then 2 and 3. 3 is the more man's sizing or boyfriend style, if you want to wear it, where it just has more of the man grading. So this is a sweater that I cast on for my husband. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see once I get to the sleeve separation, if I have to re-knit it. We'll see. It just seems really big, but every time I make him a sweater, I think it seems really big because he's bigger than me, even though in my mind we're the same size. So then when I hold the sweater up to me, I'm like, God, this is getting huge. But I have many rounds to go yet. This is just a top-down raglan. It has, the neck hole seems ginormous to me though, so I don't know. But it's where you cast on and knit flat to do the shaping for the raised back, and then you join it in the round. And then I'll pick up stitches later, and this one I think has even a folded over collar. So before I like decide if I don't like it, if I need to redo it by any means to change anything on it, I will get it past the sleeve divide for a bit and also pick up the collar and see how that looks. Because I always think that sweaters fit better when they have their collar on them, even when you're trying them on. So if you try on a sweater like this that doesn't have the collar yet and you have to pick up later, it might not sit well on your body while you're doing the try on. But yeah, this is just a plain raglan stockinette stitch. It's great for, well, also because it's like basically black yarn, it's great for like not having to look at what I'm doing. This is a fun little progress keeper I got from Charmed and Dangerous, one of her Sasquatches. This is an older version. I think nowadays he's holding like a piece of moss or something on him. But anyways, the yarn I am using is Nightshades by Harrison Designs. This is it's a DK weight Cormal, American Cormal, where they use black and then they have a little bit of another color in it. I don't know how well you can see it. This one is called Insomnia, I believe. It's like got a olive color, olive green color kind of in it. So generally it just looks black, but then when you're in like certain lighting, especially the sunlight, you really see that other color pop out. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, so this is one of my goals for the year, was to knit my husband 1 or 2 more sweaters. So at least I got one started. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I need to, now that I'm done with some of those other projects, I can pick it up and work on it some more. But yeah, this is in a bag that I got for Christmas from Rainworks. They are a Montana bag maker. This one is with like an oilskin, like a wax canvas type thing. And it's quite big. It's got tons of pockets. Yeah. And then they always do bison leather for their leather work on it. And yeah, there's their name, Rainworks. Can you see that at all? It's hard to tell. But yeah, so this is just a nice little bucket. It should hopefully hold the sweater as it grows. We'll see. Right now I only have the 2 balls of yarn, well, 1 ball of yarn that I'm working on, and that much left, and 1 second ball that I will get. And then as I go, I usually don't wind all my yarn right off the bat. I wind kind of as I go, just so I don't have all these stacked up cakes of yarn. All right. My last whip that I wanted to talk about was one I just kind of pulled out. It used to live under my bed up here. This is my bedroom, by the way. And I would work on it every once in a great while if I was laying in bed at night and wanted to knit. And so it didn't get worked on very much at all. But now that I got my jelly roll blanket done, I have a lot of scrappy blankets on the go. And this one, I don't even know when I started it because I never wrote it down when I started it. But I worked on it a bit last night, and this will be kind of my like nighttime sitting and chilling project because it's just garter stitch and very easy going. So this is just a garter stripe blanket. I am using either 20 gram minis or 20 grams of leftovers held with undyed BFL sock yarn that I have in stash, because I dye yarn every once in a while if I feel the need. And so I have some BFL DK and BFL nylon sock yarn, because that's my preferred. They hold up better than merino, and I don't need things super soft. But yeah, so I just grabbed a few skeins. I think I'm on my 2nd skein of undyed right now. I don't know how long this is going to end up being. I don't really know how wide it is. So I can't even remember how much I cast on. I I don't think I even have it written down anywhere how much I cast on, but I cast on a lot. And then I just started, so I do like a garter or I-cord edging on the end of either side. I'm not worried about the top and bottom. They're just going to be cast on bind off edgings, but it just keeps the edge, the side edge nice and neat. And I'm just doing it by knitting to the last 3 stitches, bringing the yarn in front and slipping those last 3. So when I go to turn to the other side, I'll just knit those first 3 and go and knit across. And so it kind of just makes a nice little I-cord edge. I could have made it like super fancy and done an I-cord cast on and then I-cord bind off with that edging, but I couldn't be bothered. That's just too much effort. This I'm knitting at quite a loose gauge. This is US 8s, which is what, a 5mm, I believe. I have it on like a big cord. I think I just bought no, this isn't even a fixed set. Okay, so it's probably a 40-inch cord. And yeah, I'm gonna try to focus on this one. So it's in my basket that I had my jelly roll in. I bought this at Target a while back. It's a nice hard sturdy one so the dogs don't destroy it. And in here, so I'm using magic cakes with my minis. So like you can see right now I'm on a brown, but since I'm marling it with bare yarn, everything looks a lot lighter. It looks like I have 2 more colors after the brown in this ball. And then I have another magic cake in here already wound up, ready to go. And so the magic cakes are just where I do it, like I said, I do about 20 grams. So it's either minis or leftovers that I just wind off. 20 grams worth, and then throw them, you know, as I'm winding, I just do a little magic knot. There's one sticking out there. You can kind of see the magic knot. And yeah, so I have another bit of yarn in here, just laying in there, ready to go in. I'm trying to use darker yarns for the most part. Now, when I first started, I didn't, and there's some light ones in there, but I think it makes it look really light. And so I'm trying to get more of the dark ones so you can kind of see the other colors in there. But yeah, it'll be another couch blanket or maybe a blanket for one of my kids to have in their rooms. Who knows? It's gonna be a blanket. It uses up scraps and minis, and I have a lot of both of those. And it just makes and like I said, that one's good. It's quite a loose gauge since I'm using 8s. I normally would probably knit a DK weight like that, which 2 fingerings held together is DK to worsted. I'd probably usually knit it on 6 to 7s, maybe even 5s if I wanted a really dense fabric, but 6 to 7s. And then this one I just apparently started with 8s for some odd reason, so that's what I'm using. This is quite a big mug of tea, and before I started recording and I would lift it off the table, it just shook the camera every time. So I was like, okay, I'll put it off to the side here. But this is like one of those giant mugs, and what is it from? Highland Stoneware. I got it from my sister-in-law that lives in Scotland years ago. But it's a picture of the North Sea and the beach. All right, so that's all of my whips that I'm currently like kind of trying to work on. Like I said, I probably won't show that blanket every time. Just when I get a good chunk of it done, I will kind of like the jelly roll. I'll show it at that point, just keep you apprised. But now let's see, I do have some acquisitions. Like I said, in my bonus video, and then even the last one, I am trying to be better about not buying so much stuff, especially yarn, just because I have so much stash. This is, like I said before, this is the sweater quantity that's behind me, and over there is all the single skeins and lots of sock yarn. So I'm trying to be better. Both of these were pre-orders. The first one that came in is from Surella Yarns, and it was their Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls. It's one of my go-tos if I don't know what else to watch. I probably don't watch it every year, but I do watch it quite often. And they had a pre-order. It was a 6-week pre-order, and I think I got this about a week ago or so. I don't remember when it came in the mail, but I ended up buying one skein of the, what is this one? Stars Hollow on their sock base, which is an 80/20 merino nylon. And I can't help myself with minis, and I got the Lorelei set. They had a Lorelei and a Rory. This was more my tones. Even the pink in there, I don't mind. I'm not a big pink person, but this is very much my tones of browns and just warm, earthy tones. That's what I like. That and gray. Yeah, so this is, again, their nylon sock, 80/20 wool nylon, and they're 20-gram minis, so each mini is 80 grams, because usually when it's an 80/20 base, it's 400 yards to 200 grams. It's a bit plumper of a base generally, and it makes for nice cushy socks. Some people don't prefer these. My husband really prefers socks made out of an 80/20 base. He likes the cushierness. I don't care either way, but I will say the ones that I knit that have that cushier type base, they just feel warmer to me, and they are cushier. But when I'm making like not minis, shorty socks for like spring and summer, I like the 75/25, the thinner yarn, better for that. And then the other pre-order that came in, I'll just show a couple of these, was, I think I ordered this in September, so I don't even know how long that pre-order is. It just came in earlier this week, and it was the first time I ever bought from Knotty Pine Fiber Co. They are out of, it's really hard, you can see there's glare coming from my window over there, but they are from Douglas, Wyoming, so fairly close to me. The wool, this is their Teton range, which is a DK weight. It's 100% mountain merino, Wyoming Targhee, so it's Targhee and merino are two different sheep, so I'm assuming it's a blend of those two together. I don't know. Anyways, it is non-superwash, it is worsted spun, and 22.5 microns, they say, and it is 3-ply, 255 yards per 100 grams. And this colorway is called Rocky Mountain High. I got a sweater quantity. It is a very gorgeous, deep green. I think I don't like green, but then I have a fair amount of, I'm wearing green today. I have a fair amount of green things, I'd say. So it's funny. I do gravitate towards green. I mean, I gravitate towards earthy tones, and this one was just really pretty. I loved, this was a pre-order with, I don't even know if all the colors, but there was some gorgeous like browns and red browns that I loved, and I love brown. I love red brown, but I have so much yarn that's that color, so I need to venture out of that. And I like blue, but I don't wear blue as much because I don't think it looks as good with my jeans when I wear jeans. I don't wear jeans a ton, but I also wear a lot of like black leggings, and I don't think I like my blue sweaters as much with the black leggings, but depends on the blue. But yeah, it's blowing out a little bit. It's, it's a deeper, darker, but you can kind of, it is hand dyed. I have enough to make a sweater for either my husband or myself. I bought this intending to design a DK weight sweater. Might happen, might not come into where you guys can get it, because I've talked about it before. Grading is not my favorite thing in the world. And I don't know if I really want to pay that much more to get it graded from, and I'm not even sure if my tech editor does grading or not. But you can have your sweaters graded by tech editors, and I I don't make enough from my patterns to have that be, I sometimes when you get your patterns tech edited, it can be a good chunk of money. Some of my bigger designs, it was well over $100 to get them tech edited, and it might take a long time for me to make that back before I'm actually becoming solvent on between the yarn cost and the tech editing. Yeah, it's a lot. So that is not usually, you know, I'm not a big enough designer that I'm selling a ton. So we'll see, you know, and the thing is, when I do design my own sweaters, I take meticulous notes. So if I do want to revisit it and try to write it up and try to grade it, I can. And I take good pictures with the pattern before it gets all worn and used and stuff. So I have it like basically ready to go. I just need to actually do the more difficult work. But yeah, oh God, I just love these. I don't know when I'll knit them, but I love them. And like I said, both of these that came in the mail were pre-orders that I bought before the new year. This was back in September, I think, that I bought these. So it does add to stash this year because it didn't come into my stash until this year, but it isn't, yeah, I think I still claim that I've been good, even if I'm not. All right, I guess that's all of the yarny portion of this. I'll talk a little bit about reading and watching and life stuff. Reading, it's the same 2 books. I did use my book stand. I forgot to bring it up. And it works really well. I will say it's better like just working stockinette stitch. So like my husband's sweater, I worked on his sweater a bit while I was reading. And even though I'm still in the raglan increases, I can tell when I'm getting close to the raglan. Then I just kind of look down for a bit and make sure I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, straight stockinette is probably the best when I'm reading. But yeah, I'm reading the Stephen King's fairy tale and the last a quarter of what is it? The Sarah J. Maas series. Let's see. When did I let? A Court of Silver Flames. It's the last in her Akhtar series. I will say I read, one of the reasons I didn't get to this book for a long time is because this series is way more graphically spicy, steamy than the other series that I read that I really like, the Throne of Glass series. That one had it in there, but it wasn't nearly as much. And this one it's I don't know. I love the storyline. I just wish there wasn't so much of that stuff in it because it makes it not as enjoyable for me. I'm not a romance novel reader. I'm not, and this is more than romance in my mind. This is, I would not let my daughter read this series. I mean, granted, she's only 14, but yeah, I would not. It's a lot. So that disclaimer. And I think this, I don't remember the other ones as much. I know they were bad, but I think this one's way worse with the descriptions on things. So it's a lot. So just keep that in mind if you wanted to read them, if that's not your cup of tea. I love the universe that she creates and the characters she creates and kind of watching them develop, but man, it makes it harder to read for me personally. And then I tried to watch New Girl again. I tried years ago and it just, I find it too annoying, so I can't watch it. I didn't even get through the first season again. I think I tried it years ago and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it again. I just find the characters a little bit too annoying. Many of the characters, not all of them, but a couple of them I find highly annoying, so I can't watch it. I did start watching Friday Night Lights. I never really watched that when it was back on TV. I love football, this is a little bit, I like the football part of it. I don't like all the like Texas part of it, to be honest. That is just not my type of personality to be, that crazy about football and everything else. But, you know, I like the different family dynamics and different things like that. Anyways, so it's just been a, you know, every once in a while when I'm by myself watching stuff. I just recently watched The Black Swan again because it's leaving Netflix. I watched it shortly after it was released, and I remember it being a screwed up movie. But yeah, it still is, but it is very good. It is, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a story of a ballerina that's fighting hard to get the lead role, and psychologically she kind of is falling into a hole of mixing her dance, you know, her role in Swan Lake with reality, and it seems like she has psychological issues beforehand, and this just ratchets it up to the extreme. Yeah. And then we're still watching Percy Jackson, the series on Apple TV with the kids. I think I talked about this before. We don't get a lot of time to watch together as a family. So every once in a while we'll sit down and get an episode in. I think we're 2 episodes behind right now because there was just another one released this week. But it's kind of annoying to watch this stuff with the kids because my kids are big Percy Jackson / Rick Riordan fans. So when they deviate too much from the books, they throw a hissy fit. Or this series is much better than the movies, apparently, according to them. But they will like get all excited about what's to come and almost spoil it for me and my husband, because I've only read the first book, Percy Jackson. I haven't read the whole series, and so we're like, stop spoiling. So anyways, it's been fun. And then what else? I watch football, I watch podcasts, watch news. That's about it. Life stuff. We got, like I said, one of my kids is home with stomach bugs, so that's not cool. Hope he feels better later today. I hope it doesn't spread through the house because that can happen. My daughter has state speech and debate this weekend. They have to leave quite early in the morning tomorrow because they got to drive all the way up to Missoula, and that's about a 5+ hour drive in a normal car. In a bus, they're assuming it will take closer to 7 hours. So they'll be on the road for a long time. And I think they're coming home Saturday night, so they'll probably be home at like 3-4 in the morning because the tournaments usually last until 7 to 8 o'clock at night, depending on when they get everything done. So yeah, they'll be home quite late Sunday morning. Then we'll have to go pick her up. Or we have friends in the, neighbors in the neighborhood that are also in speech and debate, so maybe she can get a ride with somebody if somebody else is getting a pickup. We'll see. Yeah, and then the weekend after, and like this Saturday is my last class for the DK Shadow Wrap Heel at Yarn Bar. My husband, last Saturday, we were both at a house at the same time, but my daughter didn't have speech and debate. Was that the one that was? No, that wasn't the one that was canceled. There wasn't one scheduled for last weekend. There was one the weekend before that was canceled because of the weather. Last weekend, there wasn't one. So she was home. My son was home. And then my husband and I were both away. I was away teaching on Saturday, and he was judging the Lego robotics tournament at the middle school. Even though my son decided not to participate in that this year, my husband judged last year because my daughter was in it. And so they reached out, and, they need their volunteers for judging. Speaking of, next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, I think my husband and I are both judging again in the national qualifiers. Is that what it's called for speech and debate? It's held here in Billings this year, so they needed judges again. And since we already judged in one tournament, we're on the list. And so they're reaching out. So we'll be judging that. Coming up, right now I currently have a pattern out to testers. It is a cowl design, DK weight, that uses stripes, and it is being tested currently. By the time I podcast in 2 weeks, it should be released. I think I have the test wrapping up in about 2 weeks from today, and so I should be able to get it published on that Friday afterwards, which usually this comes out the day, either later in the day on the Thursday or the next Friday, just depending on how the internets work. I think that's about it. Yeah, we're just rolling with the punches here. My daughter is also, I think she's going to be on costume design for the upcoming school play. They're doing Little Women this spring, so that'll start up here shortly. Speech and debate is wrapping up. My son will be in the spring doing both soccer and track. I think he wants to do both. He just had a math competition last week, where he was more excited about the bowling and pizza that they had afterwards than he was about the math competition, but whatever. He's good at math. He's not so great about liking the competition aspect of it, but he does like math. Yeah, so just busy. Yeah, we'll see you again in 2 weeks, and I probably won't have nearly as many finished objects, especially not any big finished objects. I do still have quite a backlog of old whips that I need to gather through, and that's like my hope. It's like, okay, if I finish a sweater, I can start another sweater, but I don't want to start like too many sweaters if I have too many other sweaters on the needles. Or if I finish a blanket, I can start another blanket if I want, but I kind of want to get through some of my older whips. So that's why instead of starting a new blanket, I was like, okay, I'll pick out this one. It'll be a good TV watching, blanket to work on. I did start a new sweater, but I just needed something simple stockinette for that stuff. And some of the other sweaters I want to do are not that. And like one, I have an old, it's Andrea Mowry's Big Cozy. Is that what it's called? Big Cozy cardigan, something like that. It's like a big giant like shrug cocoon wrap thing that then has like suri folded collar. I don't know. Anyways, I got a kit for that from Solder Yarn from my husband a couple years back, and started it. And yeah, I don't knit on it very often because it's textured the whole time like this sweater, so it takes more effort. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a good 2 weeks. I hope you had a good 2 weeks, and I will see you again in February, because that will be the next podcast time. All right, you guys have a good day. Bye.